Hello and welcome to Gendering Geopolitics, my short series where I have quick 10-minute conversations with women who are doing incredible things around the world. My name is Emily Prey and I'm a senior analyst at the New Lines Institute in Washington, D.C. Today I'm speaking with Pashtana Durrani, the founder and executive director of Learn Afghanistan, about the crisis in Afghanistan. Thank you so much for joining me, Pashtana.
Thank you for having me.
So yesterday, Heather Barr, who has been on this Gendering Geopolitics before, she tweeted that the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan is a human rights crisis, particularly a women's rights crisis. And I think this is an important point that many people are missing. So can you explain how all of these crises are interconnected?
I think first of all, we should all be give being grateful for someone like Heather, who is always talking her mind, but also the reality in Afghanistan. The second thing is when it comes to the human rights crisis, but also women rights crisis, and actually humanitarian crisis are involved in affecting women rights, is the fact that right now if the children are malnourished or starving, it's the women who are actually malnourished and starving right now. The second thing is they are not being able to access healthcare because all the public healthcare system has been collapsed and is collapsing. The third thing is, and the most important thing is, none of them have sustainable livelihoods. All of them have had access to them or made sure that they have some sort of access, or their men worked in their family, but right now they don't. And most importantly, when we talk about security, how people are not dying, we're still seeing bomb blasts. At the same time, we are still seeing people who are dying of famine, of hunger, of poverty, and all of that depends on a woman who's running the house. So it is a woman rights crisis at the same time as it is a human rights crisis.
And so, looking at the unfolding humanitarian crisis, more than 20 million Afghans cannot feed themselves at this moment. More than 3 million children are malnourished, and more than 1 million children are at risk of dying. What do you have to say to the donors who are withholding aid and who have been withholding aid since the Taliban took over?
I mean, first of all, I feel sorry for them if they justified in the past giving takes payers money to Afghanistan and justifying it by saying that we are helping them with humanitarian response. How come it changed now that the Taliban have taken it over? It is going into a deeper crisis, right? So how are they justifying it to their own people who are voting for them and putting them in those places in the first place? The second thing is, people are dying, and at the same time when I see around the world, people are justifying it by withholding assets. At the same time, they are okay with people dying in Afghanistan just because the Taliban are in control. There are much more ways where you can send money to Afghanistan. And I read this article by Hila Nawa Alam, and she says that you can send it through CDCs, ARTF, through World Bank communities that they have built in the past, and they can do all of that, but they are not doing it. And somehow I feel, and I can't understand, because in the past the government was corrupt, and that's the reason that they developed this structure. How come now it's not working? How come now it's not the right place to send it to these people?
Now, your organization and the work that you do focuses a lot on girls' education and the importance of girls' education. How is keeping girls out of school going to hurt Afghanistan in the long run?
It's simple. Right now, the girl who's in class 7, she's supposed to be graduating in 5 years, and she's supposed to go to a midwifery school, a teaching school, a medical school, and she's supposed to be a midwife in the next post that in the 7 years. The teacher can be a teacher post that in the 2 years. She can be a doctor in the post that in the 5 years, right? But none of that is happening. So you're putting a whole country's healthcare, teaching, literacy, everything on a back pedestal just because your political needs are not being met. So let's see, in 5 years we will have more population, but we won't have a lot of teachers to teach them. We will have a lot of population that will have healthcare problems, but we won't have midwives to care for them. We'll have a lot of physical and mental health crisis, but then at the same time we won't have a lot of doctors to cater to those needs. So this is what is happening right now. I'm not saying big things like, make them ministers or representatives. All of that comes when there is an actual government. Right now it's a regime, and it's not nice of them, or right of them actually, to put girls education and politicize it from class 7 to class 12.
Incredibly important points that the world and the Taliban should surely hear. And lastly, at the moment, how does it feel to be an Afghan woman right now?
I used to think that we could do a lot, even though we launched a second school yesterday. I do feel a lot of hopelessness and helplessness right now. I'm going to be honest. We are putting a brave fight, but the world is not helping us. The world is not standing with Afghan women and not with Afghan people either, right? Our people back home are starving. Our women are homeless right now. People are dying of poverty, hunger, starvation. But at the same time, women who want to talk, women who want to represent the actual needs of Afghanistan are sidelined, and people who don't even know about Afghanistan are actually talking about Afghanistan out of nowhere.
Pashtana, I want to thank you so much for coming on Gendering Geopolitics today, and thank you for your time, and most importantly, for your incredibly important work promoting and supporting girls' education in Afghanistan.
Thank you for having me.